Welcome or welcome back to Pouches and More, and this video is regarding the types of stabilizers or interfacing that I use in my pouches and bags. So quilting is basically where we will be putting two or more fabrics together and we stitch them. So it can either be hand stitched or machine stitched. So this is a rubber sheet. Now this is what I use in my pouches and bags. This is what I mostly use. I have also used this and this. So these are all the stabilizers and the interfacing that I use. Now this is a rubber sheet and it does not have any adhesive, that is, there is no glue. So for attaching this to my fabric, I usually stitch it together. So I basically, when in my videos I tell the main fabric is quilted, means I will be stitching the main fabric along with this. This is what I use for my pouches. So this I will be stitching along with my main fabric. So that is what I mean by telling main fabric will be quilted. Now while quilting, I usually keep the main fabric as well as the rubber sheet around a 1/4 inches more than the required length. Once I finish quilting, I cut it to the size that I want, and in case I'm using a pattern, I cut it according to the pattern I want. So first I quilt the fabric and then I cut it according to whatever size I will be requiring. So when I tell main fabric quilted, it means the main fabric is stitched along with this rubber sheet. This rubber sheet I use mainly because it holds the shape. The pouch will be holding the shape. So this is quite stiff. Now this is a sponge sheet. So this is a sponge sheet. This I have used in 1 or 2 projects only. Now when I am using this for my project, this is also not having any adhesive. So what I do with this is, I put the main fabric, I keep this, and then I'll put a very thin fabric down and then I quilt them together. So in this I will be putting the main fabric, I put the quilting, and then I will be putting another very thin fabric down and then I quilt. That is, I stitch them together. This one is interfacing and this is the fusible one in which we iron this. So if you can see, this side is shiny, it is smooth, and this is the rough side. So this is the side that we will be putting it on the fabric and ironing it, so they stick together. So this is the fusible interfacing, and this one is a bit stiff than this. So they both are fusible interfacing. They both have got adhesive on one side. If you can see, this is shiny, so this is the part that will stick, and this is a rough part. In this is the shiny part and this is the rough part. So this is a little stiff than this. So when I tell stiff interfacing, this is what I will be using. This is the thinner or softer interfacing. I usually use this for my linings. These are the 3 which I use for my main fabrics. So this is our rubber sheet interfacing. This is our main fabric. This is our rubber sheet, and I have made a stitch on this. So this is main fabric quilted, and this is how it will be. It can hold its shape. It can stand by itself. So this is our rubber sheet interfacing. Now this is the stiff interfacing. So this is our stiff interfacing. This is comparatively stiff. This can also hold shape, but this becomes soft once it is washed. Since we are using it with the fabric, nothing happens to this. So over time this can become a little soft. So this is our stiff interfacing. Now this one I usually use for my lining fabrics. So this is the thin interfacing. It is quite thin. So this is the thin interfacing that we use. Now this is the sponge interfacing, in which both sides I will be putting a fabric and then quilting. So this is our main fabric. This is a thin fabric which I have put on the other side, and this is the sponge quilting that I have put in the center. So here there is a sponge quilting. So this quilting is how we will be doing this. So these are the different types of stabilizers or interfacing that I use for my pouches and bags. Now this pouch, I have used the stiff interfacing for the main fabric, that is this one. So this is the interfacing. This stiff interfacing is what I have used in this pouch for the main fabric. For the lining fabric, I will again be using the soft interfacing. So for this pouch, for the main fabric, I have used the stiff interfacing. So this can also hold shape. Now these are the fabrics which I have used rubber sheet. So they can hold their shape firmly. They don't, even if we soften it, they can come back to their shape. So they are more on the stiffer side. So they can hold their shape. So this is the rubber interfacing. Now this one is the sponge interfacing. Now I haven't boxed, so it won't be standing anyways. It's a flat pouch, but for this I have used this sponge interfacing. So I've used the sponge interfacing on this pouch. So it's more on the softer side. It's having a soft finish to it. So this is the sponge interfacing that I have used. This is what I use for my lining fabrics. So this will be the stiff interfacing. This is the rubber interfacing that I use, and this is the sponge interfacing that I use on as a stabilizer. So these are all what I use for my interfacing and stabilizers for my pouches and bags.